Tell me your cougar, older woman not the beast, story. One Friday night a friend and I went out cougar hunting. We decided on bar that is notorious for cougars. My friend and I had done this before. He had succeeded and I hadn't yet. It's really better to have a wingman when doing this. We are a couple of drinks deep at the bar when I see a client of the business I worked at with two very attractive older women. He invites my friend and I to sit down and have a drink, so I do. I talked with one of the women for around 30 minutes. Just small talk with a little flirting, nothing crazy. My friend was hitting on her harder than I was. We get up and decide to walk around the bar a little. After watching him strike out for around 20 minutes, I decide that it's time to leave for the night. I am thinking that I will go home empty-handed again, and I remember the woman with my client. I decide to go back by and sit with them again. I offer to buy the older woman a drink and she accepts. I get to know this lady better and find out that she is 45 years old. I was 22 at the time. I don't remember how, but we started to talk about dating, meeting women at bars, and eventually sex. I looked her dead in the eyes and said that she couldn't handle having sex with me. I figured that since she was older and I am 22 and in shape that she wouldn't be able to. I wrote my number on a piece of paper, gave it to her, then left for home. I didn't expect that bold move to actually work. When I got home, I got a text message from her wanting my address. I sent her my address and she arrived 20 minutes later. We started on the couch. I was trying to rush things straight to sex and she slowed me down. She started to give me head and after a little while hopped on. We moved from the couch to my bed and things really started to happen. My phone started ringing over and over again and I ignored it the first few times, but then I decided to answer it because I thought it was an emergency. Ironically, the woman's phone was ringing off the hook too. It turned out that my friend was trying to track her down because he wanted to hook up with her. He gave up on that and then started to call me to inform me that he was heading to my house for a beer. I called him back and he said that he was at my door. I throw some clothes on and answer the door. I tell him that I am very tired so he wouldn't come in. He explains to me that the only prospect that he had wouldn't answer her phone because I was fudging the SHT out of her. He then proceeds to call her right in front of me. He was pretty drunk. Her phone rings from inside my room. I am laughing my butt off but remained poker face. He calls her 2 times and both times it rings from my room. He tells me that he wants to come in and drink a beer and play my Xbox. I finally caved in and said that he couldn't because I had a girl over. I said it was an XGF. He leaves and I run back into my room. We laughed about the situation and then started fudging again. Around 5 in the morning she decides to leave. I was out of juice by this time. This began a fudge buddy relationship for about 4 months. Okay. I know you said, older woman not the beast, but I have an awesome story about a real-life cougar, and I've been waiting for an AskReddit post in which to share it. I figure, close enough. So I was out on one of southern Florida's many lakes with some friends, attempting to fish. We were getting absolutely nothing, it being midday during one of the hottest days of that summer. Looking out across the lake, we saw exactly one other craft, a medium-sized white dinghy. We splished over to talk, the people there are really nice, and saw that the occupant of the boat was a single older man who looked exactly like the blind man from Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? We mentioned how there were no fish to be had, and he told us to just wait a moment. It only did take a moment before he snagged a nice fish, reeled it in, and threw it to the bottom of his craft, right by a large, tan cloth which appeared to have something bulky underneath it. From underneath the cloth shot a large paw which proceeded to grasp around for a second or two before darting back into the cover of the sheet. The cloth shook, and there was a full-grown cougar standing shakily before us. It then took the still flopping fish into its mouth, bit it, and then spat it out. We pushed off from the man's boat, but stayed near enough by to listen to his story about how he'd found the animal only a year or so ago and treated it like a dog. He said it was more sociable than any dog he'd ever had. I was 16 and my parents took me on some family cruise to Cozumel, Mexico, and a bunch of other Mexican towns. I was pretty stoked because I had only been drunk one time in my life prior to that, and it was off 6 Smirnoffs, insert joke here. Needless to say, when we went to Carlos and Charlie's saloon, I was about as happy as the first time I saw TT Ties when I had a barbell of a margarita sat in front of me and Mom said, "Drink. You aren't an American anymore." I took to my orders and drank the tall margarita and got super wasted. There was a dance floor, so my over-hyper 16-year-old got the best of me and started dancing all over the place. Before I knew it, I was dancing with this blonde woman in a skin-tight cheetah print dress. I knew two things wrong with this picture. 1. She wasn't even close to 20, and 2. I've never known anyone to wear cheetah print shirts, dresses, whatever except for ugly people or hot girls with sexy underwear. This woman was just too old to wear it. I was too drunk to care though, so let the dancing begin. She was making duck faces the whole time, throwing her hands up and trying to touch me to get me closer. That's fine, whatever, I can deal. But her hand in the air was too tempting, so I kept giving her high fives whenever she threw her hands up. She was telling me how cute I was over and over, me appreciating the mom love but still keeping at least a tick of distance. I saw my mom in the background dancing and making sure this lady wasn't taking advantage of me, but I was slightly discharged. She was setting me up for failure. Then, all of a sudden, I looked at the woman and with the most ridiculous duck face I've ever seen, pulls out at least 7 stacked plastic shot GL buttes from the inside of her dress. 7. Was I too drunk to notice 7 cylinders in her chest? Yes, with her 7-shot GL butt trophy out of her dress, I said, "Hold on a sec," and B dashed to the bathroom, looked in the mirror and said, "What the fudge," and ran out the bar. Mom made fun of me the rest of the trip for humping a cheetah on the dance floor. TL, DR, never expect your mother to be a good wingman.